Welcome to Giant Ability TV.
Deception is the trademark of the All Progressive Congress Party (APC) and by extension the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It is good to call a spade and to confront head-on the identified problems of Nigeria, as well as the real enemies of the people who are the enemies of the state called Nigeria. A wise man posits that there is no diplomacy like candor. You may lose by it now and then, but it will be a loss well gained if you do. Nothing is as boring as having to keep up a deception. He goes on to say that we should kiss the hand of him who can renounce what he has publicly taught when convicted of his errors, and to with heartfelt joy embrace the truth, though with the sacrifice of favored opinions. The leadership of Nigeria with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the saddle needs to realize that the only problem it has, which also is fundamental, emanates from the fraud that characterized the February 25, 2023 presidential election that ushered in Bola Ahmed Tinubu through the back doors and denied him the requisite legitimacy. All the problems that Nigerians are faced with, which include insecurity, banditry, and the unprecedented hunger since Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed the leadership of the country, were born out of his inability to lead from the front due to lack of confidence because of the lack of legitimacy. He has allowed things to go freely and unchecked in the system among all the three tiers of government, with the sole aim of substituting his oversight function with negligence, all in the name of buying over his subordinates. Those of us who are familiar with the leadership style of Bola Ahmed Tinubu while he was the governor of Lagos State will recall that his leadership style is known as being transactional, that is, compensating those who are his supporters, making it fit in for description as chop and chop leadership style. Unfortunately, he seemed to have forgotten that Nigeria is not Lagos, and trying to lead the entire country the same way he did in Lagos is a miscalculation, and hence the reality in the form of end bad governance protest. Leaders are admonished to think less about what they ought to do and more about what they ought to be, because if only their living were good, their work should shine forth brightly. This brings to fore the failure on the part of the leadership that was asking Nigerians to tighten their belt and sacrifice while they themselves in the executive, legislature, judiciary, as well as the governors were living ostentatious lives at the expense of the poor and vulnerable teeming population of Nigerians. To crown it up, President Tinubu, because of his lack of legitimacy, has been disconnected and detached from Nigerians and was delusional, living in denial. The End Bad Governance protest is a wake-up call and the beginning of the end of bad governance and heartless leaders in Nigeria. There is no gainsaying the fact that the administration for the former President Muhammadu Buhari was a colossal failure. Nonetheless, that of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, to say the least, insensitive and allows for corrupt practices, as exemplified in the spending of billions of naira for the renovation of the Vice President House, Dodan Barracks, the purchase of SUV cars costing 165 million naira each for all members of the legislature, a yacht that is worth 5 billion naira for use by the president, and the purchase of a presidential jet that is worth over $150 million. This avoidable extravagant spending was done at the expense of the hungry Nigerians.
It's not Buhari's administration. The administration of Buhari is Buhari and Tinubu's administration. I can tell you that.
What, in the last 8 years?
Yes, because some of the ministers you see in there were given by Tinubu. Some of the parastatals were run by Tinubu. And remember, Tinubu was the leader of the party. That's why even in the second term, he came and said, this is the man. He went all out. This is the man that will fix the nation.
So he's responsible for how?
He's responsible. And let me take you this. If you're a leader and you're eyeing a particular position and you want to take, even when you don't have it, you do your homework. I mean, it's open there for him to be able to know what's the state of the economy, for him to know the state of roads, for him to know the state of electricity, for him to know the state of security. And you plan, you sit down with think tank, men that will think through and bring out solution in number of days.
Okay.
It is surprising why Nigerians, especially the political elites and the security agents, wondered about why the flag of Russia was flown and the call for a military takeover. However, against the position of the propagandists working of the government, it is believed that the teenagers who were carrying the purported flags were in actual sense carrying the flags of the Nigerian military, hence their call for a military takeover. Without any invitation extended to Russia or the name of Russia mentioned in any of the circumstances. This action they describe as a call for an unconstitutional change of government and treasonable in nature. Recall that as bad as the military regime is reputed to be, the 1999 constitution that Nigeria is currently operating was handed over by a military regime. We should not forget also that as bad as the military system of government is regarded to be in comparison with a democratic system, the former president Olusegun Obasanjo, who kick-started the return to democracy in 1999, is a former military head of state. The immediate past civilian president who handed over the baton to the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and who bankrupted Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, is a former military head of state and dictator. This brings to fore the truth that no building that is expected to stand the test of time should be laid on a faulty foundation. For if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Going forward, to get Nigeria working again, the faulty foundation, which is the 1999 Constitution, needs no amendment but must be jettisoned.
So we came to convey this view that Nigeria needs a people's democratic constitution. Nigeria, we affirmed to Mr. President, is a pluralistic country. And you know that pluralistic countries exist all over the world. Those of them that addressed their pluralism by having true federal constitutions have survived. The example is India and Canada. But those pluralistic countries that failed to address their basic challenge of pluralism through federal constitution have ended up disintegrating. Examples of that are Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia, and here in Africa, Sudan. These countries existed, in the case of Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia, for about 100 years as one country, but they eventually disintegrated because they could not manage their pluralism through truly federal constitution.
However, as condemnable as the flying of the flag of Russia in Nigeria is by the protesters, it is not as worse and condemnable as the action of the soldiers who shot at the NSAS protest, who were raising the flags of Nigeria at the Lekki toll gate in 2020. These profound and foundational errors in Nigeria have to be holistically addressed if the country is headed in the direction of peace and stability. On a final note, the security agents of Nigeria are hypocritical, and that is not surprising because the service chiefs were appointed to first and foremost do the biddings of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who appointed them on the pedestal of a constitution that is anti-Nigerians. Recall how the Chief of General Staff, General Christopher Musa, once disclosed that he was being fed with a meal of 1,500 naira per day.
Chief of Defense Staff General Chris Musa on Tuesday disclosed that every military man, including himself, is fed 1,500 naira per day. He stated this when he and other service chiefs and the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, appeared before the House of Representatives to brief the lawmakers on their activities and efforts aimed at combating the rising security challenge in the country.
The security agents in Nigeria also have been indicted in relation to the theft of the country's crude oil. With this revelation, it is therefore not surprising if the security agents are not feeling the pains of hunger, and this accounts for why they are disconnected from the people. Pointing accusing fingers on Nigerians living in diaspora by the Comptroller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Kemi Nandap, as the sponsors of the End Bad Governance protest is a miscalculation and is mischievous. It shows how myopic the leadership of our security agencies are, and more reasons why they have always failed in getting actionable and accurate intelligence. If not for the support of Nigerians living in diaspora financially and materially to their vulnerable and impoverished relations and family back home, the poor would have swallowed the well-to-do Nigerians, including those saddled with the security of the country, alive.
Some of these sponsors, some of these people who are actually in diaspora, we have a number of them who are actually instigating this mayhem that we're seeing right now. What we've done is we've had them on our watch list, and they've been watch listed. We have them on our radars, and we're making sure that any attempt they make to come into the country, will notify the necessary authority. And we're working closely, of course, with the NIA and DSS, of course, and the NSA's office, so that all those we have in diaspora that are actually trying to subvert the authority of this nation, they are in our radars. We have them watch listed, and any attempt they make to come into the country will be notified, and we'll also know what to do. We'll notify the necessary authority.
Don't forget that kings have long arms, but misfortune longer. Therefore, let none think themselves out of reach. It is imperative at this juncture that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should deem it fit to attend to the demands of the protesters, especially those that need urgent attention, such as the reversal of the fuel subsidy, electricity tariff, and the cutting down of the cost of governance in Nigeria. Be advised that he who fails to change his mind at the port will end up sinking in the sea, and wisdom is profitable to direct. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you for watching.